Good morning, Elia. Let's start with a truth that might feel heavy at first. Love. Real, deep, and lasting love begins with the way we love ourselves. Not in a narcissistic, self-centered way, but in a grounded, courageous way that allows us to say, I am enough. Letting go often feels like a loss. We might think, if I let this person go, if I step away from this situation, it means I failed. I couldn't make it work. I wasn't enough. But here's the truth. Letting go is not a sign of failure. It's a profound act of courage, a declaration of freedom, and a step towards self-liberation. Why do we hold on so tightly to things that no longer serve us? Fear, mostly. Fear of being alone, fear of change, fear of the unknown. We convince ourselves that holding on is a sign of strength, that persistence will eventually lead to what we desire. But in reality, holding on often means we're sacrificing our own well-being, our happiness, and our peace for something that's no longer meant for us. When we let go, we're not admitting defeat, we're reclaiming our power. It's saying, I choose to honor myself and my journey over the need to cling to something that's weighing me down. Letting go is an act of self-respect. It's recognizing that you deserve better, even if the path to better is uncertain and scary. Letting go is freedom because it allows you to release the pressure of carrying something that's too heavy. Imagine walking through life with a bag full of rocks strapped to your back. Each rock represents a relationship, a situation, or a belief that no longer aligns with who you are. At first, the weight might feel manageable. You tell yourself, I can carry this. But over time, that weight becomes unbearable. It slows you down, drains your energy, and keeps you stuck in one place. Freedom comes when you allow yourself to set the bag down. Yes, it might feel strange at first, almost like you're missing something. But soon you realize how much lighter, freer, and more capable you are without the unnecessary burden. Letting go also creates space. When you hold on tightly to something, your hands are full. There's no room for anything new. No new opportunities, relationships, or experiences. But when you let go, you open yourself up to possibilities you couldn't see before. You make room for growth, for healing, and for transformation. I think it's important to remember that letting go doesn't erase the past. It doesn't mean that what you had or experienced wasn't meaningful. It simply means you're choosing to move forward. You're choosing to honor your own evolution. And yes, letting go can be painful. It's natural to grieve the end of something you once held dear, but that pain is temporary, and on the other side of it is a profound sense of liberation. You begin to see that life isn't about holding on to everything. It's about knowing when to hold on and when to let go. So the next time you find yourself struggling to release something or someone, ask yourself, is this serving me? Is this honoring the person I'm becoming? If the answer is no, remind yourself that letting go isn't failing. It's freeing yourself to become who you're meant to be. Letting go is not an ending. It's a beginning, a chance to reclaim your power, rediscover your worth, and step into the freedom that comes from loving yourself enough to choose peace over pain. We've all heard the saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder. But what does that really mean? At its core, it's about the power of distance, physical, emotional, or relational, to create clarity, appreciation, and perspective. Sometimes we can only truly see the value of something or someone when we're no longer immersed in it every day. When we're constantly present in someone's life, it's easy for our presence to be taken for granted. This doesn't mean they don't care, it's just human nature. Familiarity can sometimes dull appreciation. But when you step back, when you create space, you allow others the opportunity to reflect on what your presence meant to them. This isn't about playing games or trying to manipulate emotions. It's about recognizing that stepping back isn't just for them, it's for you too. Absence creates perspective, not only for others, but also for yourself. It gives you the space to evaluate your own needs, priorities, and boundaries. Imagine looking at a painting from an inch away. You can see the details, the brush strokes, the texture, but you lose sight of the whole picture. Now, step back a few feet. Suddenly the image becomes clearer, the colors blend, the composition makes sense, and you see the beauty you couldn't grasp before. That's what absence does. It pulls you out of the minutia and allows you to see the bigger picture. For others, your absence can highlight the contributions you made, the value you brought, and the energy you shared. They might realize that your presence wasn't just a given, it was a gift. For you, absence can shine a light on whether the relationship or situation was truly aligned with your values and desires. Sometimes you'll find yourself longing to return. Other times you'll realize that stepping away was the best decision you could have made. Absence also creates an opportunity for growth. When we're constantly available to others, it can become easy for them or for us to rely on that dynamic. But distance forces reflection. It forces everyone involved to look inward rather than outward. What do I truly want? What do I truly value? Who am I apart from this relationship or connection? Which creating space doesn't mean you're abandoning people or cutting ties. It means you're giving yourself and them the room to breathe, to think, and to grow. Sometimes absence will strengthen the bond, bringing both parties back together with a renewed sense of purpose and appreciation. Other times it will reveal that it's time to let go, that the chapter has ended, and that's okay too. It's important to note that absence isn't a punishment, it's a gift. It's the gift of clarity, the gift of reflection, and the gift of choice. When you step away, you're giving others the opportunity to see you in a new light, and more importantly, you're giving yourself the chance to rediscover your own light, free from the distractions or dynamics that might have clouded your vision. In the end, absence creates perspective because it shifts the focus. It allows you and others to see things from a different angle, to appreciate what was overlooked, and to decide what truly matters. So don't be afraid to step back when you need to. Trust that the space you create will lead to a deeper understanding of yourself, your relationships, and your worth. Your self-worth is the foundation of who you are. It's the unshakable belief that you are valuable, deserving of love, respect, and dignity simply because you exist. It is not something that can or should be compromised, bargained with, or diminished to make others comfortable. Yet so many of us fall into the trap of negotiation. We negotiate our worth in relationships, at work, and even within our own minds. We tell ourselves, if I just try harder, maybe they'll see my value. Or if I stay quiet and don't rock the boat, I'll be accepted. These thoughts, though subtle, erode the sense of self we work so hard to build. Self-worth isn't transactional. It doesn't depend on how much you've accomplished, how much you've sacrificed, or how much someone else approves of you. It is intrinsic. It's the unwavering knowledge that you are enough, just as you are. And yet, society often teaches us the opposite. We're conditioned to believe that our worth is tied to external factors, our achievements, appearance, or relationships. But here's the truth. When you negotiate your self-worth, you give away your power. You send the message to yourself and to others. that your value is conditional, something that can be debated or diminished. And the more you allow others to set the terms of your worth, the harder it becomes to reclaim it. Refusing to negotiate your self-worth means setting boundaries and sticking to them. Boundaries are not walls to shut people out. They're guidelines to define how you deserve to be treated. They communicate, this is who I am, and I will not accept less than this. And yes, setting boundaries can be uncomfortable. You might fear being labeled as selfish or difficult. But honoring your self-worth isn't selfish. It's necessary. When you stop negotiating your worth, you also stop over-explaining yourself. You no longer feel the need to justify why you deserve respect, kindness, or love. You begin to trust that the people who truly value you won't need convincing, and the ones who do aren't worth your time. It's important to recognize the situations where you might be tempted to compromise. Maybe it's staying in a toxic relationship because you fear being alone. Maybe it's overworking yourself at a job that undervalues you, hoping for recognition that never comes. Or maybe it's constantly apologizing for being yourself because you're worried about being judged. In those moments, ask yourself, what message am I sending myself? Am I treating myself with the same love and respect I expect from others? When you honor your self-worth, you create a ripple effect. You teach others how to treat you by showing them how you treat yourself. You attract relationships, opportunities, and environments that align with your values and your truth. And most importantly, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of proving your worth to anyone, including yourself. Refusing to negotiate your self-worth doesn't mean you won't face challenges. There will be times when people question you, when they push against your boundaries, or when they fail to recognize your value. But standing firm in your worth means knowing that their opinions don't define you. You define you. In the end, self-worth isn't something you earn or achieve, it's something you own. It's a birthright, not a privilege. And when you stop negotiating it, you begin to live with a sense of freedom and confidence that can't be taken away. So repeat this to yourself often. My self-worth is not up for debate. It's not contingent on anyone's approval. It's not something I have to justify or defend. It simply is, and that is enough. One of the hardest truths to accept in life is that not everyone is meant to stay. Relationships, whether they're friendships, romantic partnerships, or even family connections, are fluid. People come and go, and sometimes their departure feels like a direct reflection of our worth. But here's the truth. Your value isn't tied to who chooses to stay in your life. We often equate someone's presence with validation. If they stay, it means we're lovable, worthy, and enough. If they leave, we question ourselves. What did I do wrong? Was I not good enough? This line of thinking is a trap. It places our sense of self-worth in the hands of others, making it conditional and fragile. Your value isn't something that fluctuates based on other people's decisions. It's intrinsic. It exists independent of external circumstances or relationships. Whether someone stays or goes doesn't change the fact that you are inherently worthy of love, respect, and belonging. When people leave, it's often more about their journey than it is about you. Their departure could be influenced by their own struggles, desires, or limitations. It doesn't mean you did something wrong or that you weren't enough. Sometimes people leave because they fulfilled their role in your story or because they're not equipped to walk the path you're on now. Letting go of the idea that your value is tied to who stays also frees you from the need to overcompensate. It's exhausting to constantly try to prove your worth to someone who is already halfway out the door. You don't have to beg for someone's love or approval to validate your existence. The right people, the ones who truly see your worth, won't need convincing. It's also important to recognize that your value is not diminished by the number of people in your life. In a world that often glorifies popularity and connection, it's easy to think the more people who choose me, the more valuable I must be. But it's not about quantity, it's about quality. One meaningful, authentic connection is far more valuable than 100 surface-level relationships. When someone leaves, instead of focusing on what you've lost, consider what you've gained. Space. Space to grow, space to heal, space to attract relationships that align with your values and your truth. Loss, as painful as it can be, often makes room for transformation. It's natural to grieve when someone leaves. Allow yourself to feel the sadness, the anger, or even the relief, but don't let their absence define your worth. Use it as an opportunity to reaffirm your value. Remind yourself that you are whole with or without their presence. When you embrace this truth, you begin to live with a sense of freedom. You stop measuring your worth by external factors and start grounding it in your own sense of self. You begin to see relationships as partnerships, not validations. And you learn to let go with grace, trusting that the right people will remain and that their presence will enhance, not define, your value. So the next time someone leaves, resist the urge to question your worth. Instead, remind yourself, my value isn't tied to who stays or goes. It's not something that can be given or taken away. It is mine, unshakable and infinite. And no one's absence can change that. As we close, I want you to take a moment to reflect on the power of loving yourself enough to let go, to create space, and to trust in your worth. Letting go doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're choosing yourself. It means you're brave enough to say, I deserve peace. I deserve joy. I deserve relationships and situations that honor who I am. Remember, your value isn't measured by who stays, who goes, or how others perceive you. It's rooted in the undeniable truth that you are enough just as you are. When you release what no longer serves you, you make room for what truly aligns with your heart and soul. So let them go if you need to. Let them miss you. And in that space, rediscover the incredible strength, beauty, and light that has always been within you. Because when you love yourself fiercely, the world starts to meet you at that level. Thank you.